Hi, I'm Josh Boker, and I would say eczema sucks. You're watching The Peach Pitch, a music review channel where I review music. And today we're talking about the new album from the Antlers. It's called Green to Gold. This is the sixth studio album from the Brooklyn-based indie rock band The Antlers, who I would say really came out of that huge boom in the mid-2000s with all of these indie bands coming out of the Brooklyn scene. Bands like TV on the Radio or Grizzly Bear or Dirty Projectors too. Like a lot of these bands I really enjoy and have loved over the years and really grew up listening to the music. And the Antlers, unfortunately, is not one of those groups. I just really have never really listened to their albums, unfortunately, because they're saddened indie rock that's really piano and acoustic guitar driven, especially the saddened lyrics and the isolating vocals and the falsetto vocals of Silberman really are likable qualities that I feel like I would have loved back in the day, since I was hanging on to every note from Vec Atomist from Grizzly Bear in like 2009, 2010. Really, unfortunately, I don't really know much about the Antlers aside from a couple songs here or there. And I do know that the group really did a good job of really capturing that saddened acoustic indie music, kind of perfected it in a way on albums like Hospice or Burst Apart as well. Two albums that although I have not really familiarized myself with them, I do know the essence and the songs and the vibes from it. And I've never really checked out an Antlers record until now. I listened to Green to Gold, their sixth studio album, and it's after I want to say like a 4 or 5 year hiatus too, which is interesting. I didn't really know this group really went on that. And I would say they really regrouped. They're a duo now as well, and I'd say they really have changed a bit, especially with the themes and the vibes and the overall sound of their music too. Yes, they still have that acoustic, sparse instrumentation of acoustic guitar, piano, that falsetto vocals from Peter Silberman that you really are familiar with. What's noticeably different about this record is really the attention to happiness, positivity, approach to nature that really is extremely, extremely romanticized. I would say this album truly romanticizes the season of summer. I would say very few albums really romanticize it in this way than they do. Visually, aesthetically, sonically, and lyrically provide kind of the warmth, love, and togetherness that summer brings to people, and really that connection to nature as well. They really do have a pep in their step, which is a lot different from if you've heard like Putting the Dog to Sleep or a track like that. It's a complete 180, and that's something I could really appreciate about this record, because I love spring and summer music. I really do. And I love music that kind of has that vibe as well, that has a really relaxed, quiet, free-wielding vibe. Bands like Real Estate, for example, really have that attention to nature and the attention to warmer climate and kind of a relaxed viewpoint on life. It's really locked down on this record. And the instrumentation is quite blissful. This album is the equivalent to kicking back on your front porch on an early summer morning while sipping your iced macchiato. You know the one. I'm definitely getting vibes of straw hats, long walks in the park, swimming in the pool, and reading a book under your local oak tree. All of that is really encompassed in this record. And aside from the vibes, which I absolutely love, that is by far my favorite thing about this record. But the songs themselves are really pretty, lush, and gentle, easygoing, and breezy. And to say a Antlers record is happy is quite shocking, but it's 100% true on this record. They do adjust to this mindset and adjust to this really pretty, nuanced side of themselves that I didn't really know they had. The tracks that open and close the record, Strawflower opens the album and Equinox closes the record. I would say they give off the essence. It's a great introduction and a great conclusion to the record. Really kind of ties the album up together, kind of our bookends. There's a galloping pace on Just One Sec that's very happy and easygoing, kind of like you're just on a carriage ride on a horse on an island and you're just taking life one step at a time. And some of these songs actually venture into longer territory. Some of them are like 7 minutes, 6 minutes. And for the most part, I think these tracks actually work pretty well, surprisingly. There's enough shifts and progressions to keep things interesting. I know Volunteer kind of is close on that edge of really remaining interesting, at 6 minutes, but it actually does work with its strengths and actually has pretty good progression too, even though it might not be my favorite on the record. Wheels Roll Home and Solstice, which comes right after, are actually like flow into one another really well. It almost sounds like one song to me though, but they both have the same approach to singing and performing, where they both really do sound like lullabies that are really sweet about being heartfelt and being full of love. Stubborn Man is my favorite ballad on this album and has some of the best piano playing and progressions on the album too. It's really gorgeous, kind of, I would say, one of the most darker toned moments on the album. Porch Light is like just pure sunshine and bliss, and has, I would say, the best vocal delivery and guitar tones on the record. I would also say the title track is my favorite on the album, Green to Gold. It's clocks in at like around 7 minutes. The best part of this track is not only the guitar melodies and the hooks, but I would say the lyrics, the lyricism, and the overall tone and theme of this track, which really sums up the record nicely. Even if you listen to like the first stanza of this track, which I'll quote, so summer's on the outs, cicadas swim around the house, crickets clicking down the block, we are on an early morning walk. If you go on with the lyrics, it kind of describes a beautiful tendencies and essence of summer, what I love and what many people love about summer, just really the quietness, the gracefulness, the freeing tendencies that you get on a summer's day. As the song progresses, he goes on to recite the changing of the seasons. He really does a great job of pulling the changing of the seasons and how it's so quick and sudden as well, and really how just time just goes by so fast. And it's a whole shift of a whole year, really, where it starts out in the summer and then goes to fall, to winter, to spring, and then back to summer where he initially was in the song. And that's kind of why I love this track so much. And it's really, I would say, one of the best songs of the year, just on a songwriting standpoint. And also the transitions on this record are really cool too. You really hear the summer wind gusting and the cicadas chirping and the crickets as well. You can hear all of that through your headphones, clear as day. And the recordings of these field recordings and nature recordings are really, really cool and are a nice touch and really just help visualize what they're really trying to portray. And what's charming about Green to Gold is really the charisma and the attention to detail visualizing these themes of summer, and what really attracts us to summer, what we really grab onto when we think of summer. And really the love, beauty, the youthfulness of it, and really the freedom, honestly. Not just with ourselves, but really the nature around us and the environment around us too. And also these themes of love, happiness, and togetherness on this record really contrast with the band's typical themes of isolation and heartbreak on their previous records. You're really seeing the Antlers in a new light. And honestly, the songs themselves, as good as they are, they kind of have a natural, organic feel to them. And the listening experience from start to finish is a unified experience. Though there is a subtle lack of variation in how the songs, even though the songs themselves are great, I would say there really aren't a huge amount of standout moments that keep some of these apart from others. They really flow together nicely in this way, but it's kind of difficult to pick out really, really high points on this record. I think there needs to be a little bit more variation. If I could be a little critical here, I think there needs to be a little bit more variation in that. Even though this is my first Antlers record, I would definitely love to check the group's really critically acclaimed work throughout their career, and would love to kind of look back at their catalog too. If you're looking for something like that, please listen to this record, And if you're obviously a fan of the Antlers, I mean, I personally am not really that familiar with their work, but I'm pleasantly surprised, and Green to Gold is a good highlight from this year, and I would say give this a listen, especially with summer approaching too. I think this is the perfect album to put on. If I had to rate this thing, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. I don't find this thing to be amazing, but I do think if you give it the time and energy, I think you'll find a lot of great things about this record, and I think a lot of things will grow too. It is extremely easygoing though, and very breezy, so I don't find this to be too difficult of a record to get into. But, for those of you who are into indie rock and pop and the folkier side too, I think you'll find quite a lot on this record. From what I've lost in my hairline, I've only grown in my love for music. The Peach Pitch. Thanks for watching. See you next time.